When I was 21 years old, I had the opportunity to be a part of and build an extraordinary company. Have you ever heard of the term right time, right place? Well, that's where I was, the right time in the right place. There was this company called Napster that had been built and it created awareness for this whole new type of computing, the ability to directly share information between other people on their computers. And the government had shut that down a week before our company launched, and we exploded. We had 110 million downloads of our software in the first year. That made us the fastest growing company in the history of the internet. And we weren't the biggest, but the fastest, from 0 downloads to 110 million users in a year. I was certain we were going to be a thriving success. But I didn't want to just succeed as a company. I also wanted to succeed as a person. So I came up with my own goal. At 21, I made a goal that I was going to make $1 million by the time I was 30. My net worth would be $1 million. Can you believe it? You know what I was going to do with that $1 million? I was going to retire. I was going to get a boat. I was going to travel around the world. I was going to do all this amazing things because I was going to be rich and I was going to be successful. But here's the problem. My definition of success was flawed, right? I'm not saying $1 million isn't a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but not to live life the way that I was going to live life. So if you are unrealistic with your definition of success, you are certain to never achieve it. Here's the truth. Societal norms teach us from a very young age, through our parents, through our schools, through culture and media, that success is about dollars and cents. Whoever has the most money in their bank account at the end wins. And if you don't achieve that, then you're a failure, right? You have to go out and seek titles and accolades and influence and power. And it's shameful if you can't do those types of things. The reality is there's a winning equation that exists out there for us. Many of you are aware of it. It's called EBITDA, earnings before interest, depreciation, tax, and amortization. Or in layman's terms, profit, right? The more money I have, the more successful I am. But what happens with that is it causes unbelievable damage. If you allow yourself to be tied to a singular definition of success, that causes anxiety, depression. Science backs us up here. That anxiety and depression can lead to chronic stress, which leads to heart conditions, gut problems with our intestines, and the way that we continue to develop comorbidities later in life. And it can lead to burnout, fatigue, and yes, even the possibility of suicidal thoughts. But by recalculating success, we unlock purpose. We'll come back to that. The next part of the equation I want to talk about that we don't often discuss is failure. Once somebody asked me, what's the largest failure you ever had in your career? And I thought about it for a second, and at that point, I'd never had a company fail, so I thought, well, I've never really had a big failure. And then I took my cocky, arrogant self to the mirror and realized that can't be right. And I went back to the drawing board, and I started to look back in old files. I started to explore events, programs, projects, initiatives, all which we had done, but never done again. And I realized, oh, that's what people call failure, because those things were failures, but not to me. To me, they were opportunities to learn, to iterate, to grow. Because the reality is, if you realize how important failure is to success, you not only embrace it, but you celebrate it. Tom Brady says that he learned everything he learned in his career from his failures, not from his successes. So how or why would we celebrate failure? We celebrate failure first and foremost because it creates catalytic growth, right? As we make mistakes and we learn from our mistakes, we get better. We don't make the same mistakes again. Second of all, it unlocks innovation. Innovation is something about how do we create efficiencies as we grow? How do we make our business better and better? And through that, we unlock amazing breakthroughs. And lastly, it's pivotal in our businesses. If we create culture where employees and people are given the permission to make mistakes without the retribution of getting fired or punished, you allow people to dare to do amazing things. And when they do those amazing things, it makes your company even better. Right? We have to try, because if we don't try, we can't succeed. Michael Jordan says you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So, what if success wasn't tied to how much money you made in dollars and cents? And what if failure didn't have a negative connotation? What could we accomplish? What if we could define our own definition of success? Think about what we could unlock and what we could accomplish there. So I'd like to submit to you a new equation for success. Success equals purpose plus perseverance times failure. Purpose is what gets you up in the morning. Purpose is what you consider to be your definition of success. That could be fulfillment. It could be contentment. It could be impact. It could be getting home every night at 5 o'clock and getting home Friday to spend the weekend with your family. It could be finding a hobby that you work to live, you don't live to work. Purpose is essential for determining what success looks like for you. Perseverance is necessary in any scenario in order to be successful. If any of you in here have launched a company, you know that building a company is literally like a roller coaster, right? Some highs are the greatest highs you can ever imagine, and some lows are worse than you can ever imagine. And realistically, more bad things happen for me in the companies that I build than good things. But the reality is I didn't have to have more good things than bad things happen. I just needed to have enough. And we multiply that times failure, because failure, my friends, is a positive thing. Because failure, as we define it, is learning. And every time I make a mistake, that's one thing I've learned that I'm not going to make a mistake doing again. So the mathematical equation is simple. P1 plus P2 times F to the fourth. I don't know that means much different, but the reality is if we combine those things, we create a winning equation for what we're trying to accomplish. Now, remember that company I told you about, that company that was the fastest growing company in the history of the internet, the one that was certain to be a success? Well, it did not have that unicorn status that I thought it was going to have. It didn't explode like I thought it was going to explode. We didn't sell it for $1 gazillion, but I took away some key learnings. First, and this is something that's helped me my entire career, if you can't control the outcome of your business, you can control your contribution to the process. Say it again. You can't always control the outcome of your business, but you can control your contribution to the process. So every day, I get up and I commit to my purpose and I work as hard as I possibly can. I surround myself with great people who can help me grow, help me learn from my mistakes, and create an environment where great things can happen, right? I celebrate successes. I celebrate success in many ways. Some of the ways that we've done that in the past was in this ecosystem, we used to throw failure parties, right? People would try to build a business, it wouldn't work, and it would fail, and we throw a party because we wanted to encourage them that they were moving in the right direction, they were doing the right types of things. Another thing we used to do is we used to have storytelling sessions. Another organization I started, we would meet across the country and we would have whiskey and war stories. And we would get together and we would be authentic and transparent, and we would share with each other the mistakes that we'd made, the failures that we'd had, the learnings that we had gained. And guess what happens when you start being authentic with your failures? You're not the only person in the room struggling with the same thing. You find camaraderie in that. You find encouragement in that. You find success in that. So what's happened since that first company that I built? Well, I've had the opportunity to build 25 plus companies, both in the for-profit, non-profit space. I've gotten to build entrepreneur ecosystems all over the country. I got to build an entrepreneurship department at SMU. Some of my businesses succeeded financially. Some of my businesses succeeded through impact. Some of my businesses didn't succeed at all. But the key was I was living according to my definition of success. Not yours, not hers, and definitely not theirs. And I've never worked a day in my life. I get up every day. I can contribute everything I can to the success of my business. I live to a measurement of success that I write, and it has transformed my life. So I would challenge you with your success challenge. First of all, believe in yourself. You can accomplish anything. You do have the capacity and the capability to do amazing things. Second, create your own definition for success, your own purpose. That will drive everything that you do. Third, go at it with all you got. Because when you fail, now that we have redefined what failure is, it is just learning. It is not a failure, it's an opportunity to get better. It's an opportunity to grow. And those things are vital for success. And if you do that, if you create your own success formula like the one we've talked about today, it will transform your perspective in your life because you will have an accurate definition for what success should look like. Thank you.